Pictographs, bar graphs, and line graphs. A pictograph is pretty much what you think it is. It uses pictures to represent data values. If you see something like this, a whole one represents 10,000, we're going to assume this is half of one of those donut-shaped tires. So that'd be 5,000. So, some questions you may see. How many tires did Tennessee destroy? Well, each one of these represents 10,000. It says 10,000, 10,000, 10,000 for a grand total of 30,000 tires. How many tires did Alabama destroy? 10,000, 10,000, half a tire is 5,000. 10, 10, 5 is 25,000 tires. Let's do a ratio problem. Anytime you see the word ratio, it means fraction. So it's the ratio of Kentucky to Wyoming. To do that, I saw Kentucky first, that goes on top. Wyoming second, that goes last. Kentucky is 10, 20, 30,000 tires. Wyoming is 10, 20,000 tires. I'm going to reduce. Those cancel out. Watch this. Those 4 zeros are going to cancel out those 4 zeros because it's the same as dividing by 10,000. And it leaves a ratio of 3/2. Little tricks I can show you. Now, let's look at a bar graph. A bar graph is what you think it is. It's a graph that consists of bars. Now this is actually a double bar graph. Most times you'll just have a single bar graph, but this is a double bar graph. The dark ones, according to this, represent the males, and the gray ones represent the females. So let's answer some questions. How many women majored in history? So, the women are the gray color. So let's go to history, gray color. Let's go over. Looks like roughly around 100 women. This just to give you an idea of how to read a bar graph. How many men majored in math? There's the math. The men are the blue colored, looks like. Go over to the number of students, looks like 50. After that, you could be asked a question, how many women, or what were the majors in which fewer than 200 majored? Let me say it again. What majors were there in such there were 200 female students? See, these two right here is debatable, so I don't know if I'd really put those. If you do, it really can't be wrong. If you don't, it really can't be wrong. But we for sure can see, I was looking at the blue. The question was the females. So it looks like all the gray ones are all below that 200, because if I draw that 200, it'll be something like that. So everyone listed here, there's under 200 women for each of these majors. So the answer would be math, history, English, science, and others. It's kind of a backwards question from these. Let's actually draw a bar graph. It's not going to be accurate by any means, but we're going to draw one. Just give you an idea of how a single bar graph looks. Now, what I'm going to draw is something like that to begin with. We're not going to do anything elaborate. All we're going to notice, well, first off, I'm going to label my horizontal line with the classes. We always put the classes on the bottom, and the number or the frequency on the side. Now I'm just going to use FR for freshmen, SL for sophomore, JR for juniors, SE for seniors, and GR for graduates. Now the highest one is 180. I don't have very much space here. I don't want to label it with just these numbers. I want to be consistent throughout. Otherwise, a graph could always be the same looking graph every time. So since the highest one is 80, I don't have much space, I'm just going to count by 30s. 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180. If I had graph paper, it'd be a lot more accurate, but I don't. So I'm just going to do a best case estimation. And now what we're going to do now is draw bars. Freshman, 120. So I'm going to approximate it to be about right there. Sophomores, 145. Looks like it's somewhere around there, potentially. Juniors, 180. So about there. Seniors 170. About there. And graduates 115. About there. You may be wondering, what's the purpose of this? Well, you can see trends. You can see, you can answer all kinds of specific questions. More juniors than anything else. You see that there's a rise from freshmen to sophomores to juniors, and a decline from juniors to seniors to graduates. You could be asked questions, why would there be fewer or decline? Well, some people get jobs. You know, something like that. Things happen. Not everybody goes to graduate school. After they get their 4-year degree, they go to work. Just depends on the person. Now this is an example of a histogram. It looks a lot like a bar graph except for one thing. They're connected. And so be careful when you read these. Be very careful. It says how many employees earn at least $4 and less than $6 an hour. So at least 4, less than 6, that's this bar right here. That'd be 20 employees. At the question where how many employees earned at least $10, at least means $10 more. Now I really don't know where the 10 will be, so I can't say if it's on that line or there, but I do know that anything past this line is more than 10. So I got this bar and I got this bar. This bar looks to be roughly 32, and this bar looks to be roughly 18. And you add those together, we have 50 employees. I mean, there's a range of values that could be possible. 48, 51, I mean, there's variations. I mean, lots of acceptable answers. But this is to give you an idea of how a histogram will work and what some dangers are. Can I ask you how many earned exactly $10? Because if it's $10, was it the line that connects this bar, or is it the line that connects this bar? Can't tell, so I can't ask you that question. So I have to ask you a little bit more general questions. Now this thing right here that we're going to do is called a frequency distribution. Just a little busy work. What it does, it gives you a way to take a bunch of numbers and classify them into easy to read tables. So this is one such table, frequency distribution. This is really easy to do, just a little busy work. So here we go. These classes are already preset for you. In other classes, in statistic classes, you may have to determine what to use. In this class, we're going to tell you what the classes are. So here we go. 12. 12 is between 11 and 15. So what we're going to do is put a tally mark there to represent that one. This is just a busy work column. 8 goes in this column, or this class I mean. 15 is in this one. 11 is in this one. 20 is in this one. 18 is in this one. 14 is in this one. 22, 13, I put a line through that gives me that 5. And as I count them off, I'm marking them out, so I don't have to recount them. 26, 17, 19, 16, 25, 19, 10, 7, 18, 24, 15, 30, and 24. Now the frequency just means add the tallies. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 4, 2. Now one thing I like to do is just make sure I got them all in there. I like to add these. 3 and 7 is 10, 6 and 4 is 10, 10 and 10 is 20, 20 and 2 makes 22, or 22 total days. And then let's look at one more item, the line graph. This is a double line graph. All kinds of questions that could be asked here. We're going to try to make it a little bit easy for you. Now this first one right here represents the year 1990. This is 1989. This question is asking for the total sales for the first 6 months of 1989. So we're going to assume the first month is January. Nothing says that it has to be. Like in the academic calendar, the first month could be in August or July. So we're going to assume that the first month is January. So for the first 6 months of 1989. Well, we not only have to assume it when it says 1989. We got 12 months. This has to be January. So sometimes you don't have to be. You can't assume. It is what it is. So for this first month, some people will say it's 48, but it's not. You gotta look at the side. Thousands of dollars. So it's actually $48,000. Second one is looks like 50,000. The third one is 44,000. The fourth one is 46,000. Fifth one is 52,000. And the sixth month looks like it's about 50,000. And so let's add all those up. I'm going to take out my calculator. I'm going to add those up real quickly. And you could be doing the same thing. You can always stop these, pause them, do the work before I do it, and see if you can do it. And check your own work with the videos. Line graph. There's all kinds of questions that could be asked. I could ask you the difference between, for December, the sales in 1990, 1989, difference between subtract. 1990 would be 72,000. 1989 would be 50,000. So the difference between 72,000 and 50,000 is $22,000. So there's all kinds of questions that could be asked.